things among vast bodies of facts, but the problem was it would have to be the size of facts, but the problem was it would have to be the size of London. It would probably break. So what we needed was electronics. It was Ambrose Fleming coined the word electronics by looking at problems in the physics of electromagnetic. There's always a problem that leads to something new. So when you look at an Edison lamp, the light is going in all directions, but there were some odd particles that were going in one direction. What was going on? Those were electrons. And Edison oddly ignored that. He discovered it, but ignored it. But the problem with being famous is that even if you ignore something, and if it's successful, it will get named after it. So it became known as the Edison effect. And Lee DeForest, who actually has a star in Hollywood for his work on film soundtracks, he developed that into the modern vacuum tube with a control grid. So suddenly we had machines that could operate at the speed of light rather than at the speed of sound. Lewis Fry Richardson gave us everything you need to know about AI in this one slide. A mind having a will, but capable of only two ideas. All the principles that we're still trying to work out are there in 1930. Now, Richardson was a very strict Quaker, a pacifist, so he realized that AI would be used by the military, so he went into weather prediction and pioneered that with digital models of weather. He calculated if you had 64,000 mathematicians in this great theater, they could calculate the weather as fast as the weather itself. That's what Danny Hillis, one of Harvard's students, actually did, built the connection machine. Then the military became interested in weather prediction, came to him, so he stopped all work on weather prediction and worked on the distribution of wars in time. So now we've reached the end of the Old Testament. We're getting to the New Testament. The person who brought us into the New Testament was Alan Turing. If you were here at EG 2 years ago, I got to interview on stage Alvy Ray Smith about Alan Turing. So the founding text was in the Proceedings of London Mathematical Society by Computer Numbers, where he proposes computing machines in a very abstract mathematical way. So that copy, so destroyed, was von Neumann's personal copy. So you see how well the engineers studied that copy. So in the New Testament, there are four great prophets. There's Alan Turing, who wondered whether machines could think. There's Johnny von Neumann, who wondered whether machines could reproduce. Claude Shannon, who wondered how machines would communicate with each other. And Norbert Wiener, always getting in trouble, who wondered how machines would take control. And von Neumann put that all together. He didn't build the computer that all our computers are modeled on, but he assembled a team of people who built it. It was all started in Los Alamos with a machine called the ENIAC, built for the Army by Eckert Mauchly. And what von Neumann realized was we needed software, and Clary, his wife, did all the early programming. We needed guinea pigs. She became one of the first coders, a new occupation which is quite widespread today.
largest bulk of electronics is back to 2014. Comes to the 195,000, also it's one. Those twins, 58,000 as well. And they were discovered this Monday.
scientists have explained this. See, if you want to increase the capacity of this brain, one thing is you must pack more neurons. This is how a lot of children are born with excess neurons. Those are the children who are hyper, very brilliant but hyper and unstable. Another way to enhance your brain capacity is to increase the size of the neuron. If you increase the size of the neuron, the capacity of the brain could expand big time. But right now as you sit here in a restful condition, more than 20% of your energy is being consumed by your brain. Your brain is only this much, hardly 2 pounds. This much body consumes only 80%. This consumes 20%. If you increase the size of the neuron, the kind of energy that it will demand, the body cannot sustain. So this is what the neurological assessment is. But Adi Yogi, over 15,000 years ago, said something very unique. People ask the same question. So Adi Yogi said, see, you can learn to use your existing capacities in a much higher way than the way you're using it right now. If you become more and more conscious, your body and brain, you can use it in many more ways than they're using right now. But if you have to physically or physiologically evolve, then the way the planetary systems are, some change needs to happen in the solar system. Because solar system is like a potter's wheel. It has spun this and it has reached its peak. How we know it's reached its peak is, if you know something about the geometry of the solar system, you know the diameter of the moon and the distance between the earth and the moon is 108 times the diameter of the sun, you know those things. So, if you look at the human system, there are 114 junction points, the chakras as they're called. The first two are outside the physical body, so we usually don't talk about it unless it's for some mystical purposes. So 112, out of that 112, 4 of them, you cannot do anything about them. If you take care of the 108, the remaining 4 operate by themselves, they have an intelligence of their own. We cannot do anything about it. So 108 is what is available to you. Seeing this, he says, see, 108 is already available to you. So the geometry of the solar system is like this. Unless some structural change happens in the solar system, you cannot evolve physiologically any further. But your ability to use the same thing in better and better ways is always available to you. So if you're planning to grow this along with Elon Musk, no, but can you learn to use this better? Are we not always learning to use this better, both body and mind? Aren't we? Some people, of course, downgrade themselves as time goes by. Some people are upgrading themselves, isn't it? It's possible if you're willing.
genotype and phenotype. The genotype is the pattern of the gene, the phenotype is the organism. So you come up with a new pattern, which is the body, and the organism or organization. And Some of those organisms survive, some don't. They go back around, you get another variation in the genotype. So this is a very general concept, works from single-celled organisms all the way up to societies. That fit very well with a conception that I had noticed, which is that if you study systems for any period of time, you begin to note that different disciplines have different basic elements in their systems. The preferred basic element is a variable, like in physics, mass, length, and time, economics, imports, exports, GDP, savings, etc. But you also have events, like in computer science, do this, do this, do this, do this, or in history, this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And in sociology and political science, the basic unit tends to be groups. You also have ideas as basic elements in psychology, philosophy, cultural anthropology. And if you're interested in the dynamic behavior of the system, there's an interaction between these two. So you have an idea which is embodied in some organism or organization, a new idea, and so on. So you have something that looks like this. Ideas, groups, events, variables happening over time. That, in a sense, describes how social systems change. So that if you're interested in producing some change in the social system, you study the variables, you come up with an idea, you try to persuade other people to go along with it, loan you money, pass some legislation, then you either start a new business, pass some legislation, then you study it with variables to see, okay, what's happening, is it working or not, then you come up with a new idea, you go around and around on that. So the advantage of using all four methods as opposed to just one, which is what we teach students in universities, we teach them to specialize. We only think in terms of psychology or history or something else. If you use each one of these representations, you get a richer description of the social system. Important considerations are less likely to be overlooked. Theories and methods of more than one discipline are used. I know of only one person who thinks this way, and that's George Soros, who's been very good at understanding social systems. And if you read his book, Alchemy of Finance, he uses all four of these methods, describing a number of different investment situations. The other issue, okay, in addition to thinking in terms of ideas, groups, events, and variables, as we look at social systems to understand the dynamics of social systems, I think we should also look at the interaction between ideas and society. This is a diagram that I made before I read Soros. Soros calls this a shoelace diagram. I think the description fits very well. You could say, okay, there was the first crusade, there was interest in trade and ancient learning. Marco Polo's trip to China. Science and technology are stimulated by desire to improve trade. Traders accumulate wealth and nation-states develop. You have the idea of progress. The Industrial Revolution, Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations, and so forth. So the idea leads to a different type of social organization. The social organization leads to new ideas, which are embodied in different forms of social organization. The import of this, it seems to me, is that it could change the way we do social science research by not only doing a literature review of what previous scholars have said about the interaction between various variables, but you could also describe the impact of previous theories on the social system. In other words, if theories affect the social system, which I would claim happens in the social sciences but doesn't happen in the physical sciences, then that should be a part of the study.